Imagine being handcuffed on the sidewalk for simply minding your business, a nightmare that became reality for one man who never saw it coming. In this story, a respected black lawyer finds himself wrongfully detained by police, accused of a crime he didn't commit. The officers don't realize their mistake yet, but they're about to learn that the man in their custody isn't just any civilian. He's the legal expert who will soon take the reins of their own internal investigation. As tensions rise and tempers flare, the encounter begins to unravel a complex web of prejudice, power, and the pursuit of justice. How did things go so wrong so quickly? And how will the officers handle the shocking twist when they realize who they've arrested? Stick around to see how this lawyer turns the tables in a story you won't believe until you hear it. It all started on an ordinary afternoon. The lawyer, a dedicated professional named Marcus Taylor, was on his way to meet a client when two officers stopped him out of nowhere. Confused, Marcus calmly asked what was going on, but his questions were met with suspicion. The officers claimed he matched the description of a suspect involved in a nearby theft. Marcus, dressed sharply in his tailored suit and carrying a briefcase, couldn't believe the situation. As bystanders gathered, some pulled out their phones to record the scene. Marcus tried to explain who he was, but his words were dismissed. The officers weren't interested in hearing him out. They were focused on making the arrest. Meanwhile, Marcus was already piecing together the systemic problem he was now caught in. What they didn't know was that the very system they worked for was about to face a reckoning, one led by Marcus himself. As Marcus sat in the back of the police car, his mind raced. He couldn't help but think about how often stories like his unfolded without justice. He'd spent years fighting for the rights of others, and now he was experiencing firsthand the very injustice he worked so hard to dismantle. From the officers' perspective, they believed they were doing their job, relying on a vague description that painted Marcus as guilty before he even had a chance to speak. Meanwhile, news of the arrest began spreading. Some of Marcus's colleagues and clients heard about it through social media, where the videos of the incident were quickly gaining attention. One witness, a local journalist, recognized Marcus and began digging deeper. Inside the station, the officers started processing Marcus's arrest. As they reviewed his ID, their faces shifted from confidence to confusion. They were starting to realize they hadn't just arrested any man, they'd arrested their own investigator. The room fell silent as Marcus's ID and professional credentials were confirmed. One officer muttered something under his breath, while the other avoided eye contact entirely. Marcus remained calm, watching their growing discomfort with a quiet resolve. They had treated him as less than human moments ago, and now they were scrambling to figure out how to fix their mistake. As word spread through the precinct, senior officers were called in, and whispers filled the hallways. Marcus sat in the holding area, his presence now causing a stir. Some officers glanced at him nervously, realizing they had not just detained a lawyer, they had detained the person assigned to investigate allegations of misconduct within their department. Outside, the journalist who recognized Marcus was rallying support. Calls were being made, and the situation was about to escalate. Inside, Marcus waited, knowing this was bigger than him. This was about accountability. Just as the supervisor prepared to address the situation, another officer rushed into the room, holding a file. His expression was a mix of urgency and unease. "We've got a problem," he whispered, but his voice was loud enough for Marcus to hear. The file contained surveillance footage from the area of the alleged theft, and the suspect's appearance didn't just differ slightly from Marcus, it was a glaring mismatch. The room fell silent as the officers reviewed the footage. It was undeniable proof that they had the wrong man. But before anyone could acknowledge the mistake, a phone buzzed on the supervisor's desk. It was a call from the city's mayor, who had seen the viral footage of Marcus' arrest and was demanding an explanation. Marcus, observing the chaos around him, broke his silence. "Looks like you've got more than one mess to clean up," he said, his calm voice cutting through the tension. The room buzzed with tension as the mayor's call set off a chain reaction. Officers scrambled to explain themselves, while the supervisor struggled to piece together how everything had spiraled so far out of control. Marcus remained composed, a stark contrast to the chaos around him. Finally, the supervisor turned to him, his voice hesitant. But Marcus held up a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "Apologies won't fix the damage," he said firmly. "This isn't just about me. It's about a system that keeps making the same mistakes." Just as it seemed the situation was reaching its resolution, the journalist who had been following the story burst into the station with breaking news. The footage not only cleared Marcus, but also revealed misconduct by one of the officers involved in his arrest, an officer already under investigation in Marcus's case. The room fell into stunned silence as Marcus stood, now free to leave, but carrying the weight of what had just unfolded. "Looks like your investigation just got a lot more complicated," he said, walking out as cameras captured the moment. As Marcus walked out of the station, the crowd outside erupted into cheers, their voices a mix of relief and anger. The journalist followed closely, documenting every moment, ensuring the story wouldn't fade into the background. Marcus didn't just reclaim his freedom that day, he became a symbol of resilience in the face of systemic injustice. The police department, now under even greater scrutiny, announced a full review of their practices. The officer exposed in the video was placed on administrative leave, and the mayor called for immediate reforms. Marcus, though shaken, used the incident to fuel his mission, advocating for accountability and fairness within the justice system. In the end, the story wasn't just about one wrongful arrest. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the truth can light the way. As Marcus drove home, he couldn't help but feel the weight of what was still left to do.